Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea. Well, folks, in case you have not been following any goings on the past week, I'm about to break some news to you that could shatter your world. Kids and cousins, I believe it is safe to say that everything we held sacrosanct went by the wayside this last week, whether we knew about it or not. Yes, the moorings and underpinnings of what you may have thought the United States of America and the overall world at large were founded upon came crashing to the ground with a gargantuan thud. Were you by chance banking on the new sheriff in town, Donald J. Trump, and his posse of dashing desperados to finally, ever so eloquently, bring the sweet justice the people of this once great nation had longed for and demanded for over half a century? From the advent of the early 1960s and the internal coup d'etat so horrendously committed against one John Fitzgerald Kennedy, to the Iran-Contra betrayal of the mid-1980s, all the way to the middle-of-the-night federal election-fixing felonies of 2020. We've each been systematically lied to, undeniably played for fools by an overarching force of power that goes beyond the normally understood and accepted powers supposedly in control of our nation. This, friends and colleagues, is a force that harbors zero fear or respect for the populace of the United States, knowing fully well that not a single thing will be done to them or to right the ship. Yes, my loyal viewers, this is a historic time in the annals of the history of the USA. It can now be said that the constitutional republic on which Thomas Jefferson, John Hancock, and Benjamin Franklin based this nation is now gone, finis, kaput. What other analogy could a logically minded observer make at this juncture? And it all went without so much as a whimper. No bloodshed, no warfare. In fact, it was stolen from everyone under the sound of my breath, and all without hardly any notice having been taken in the slightest to the criminal masterminds at work. And my viewers, even though we have just now awoken to the truth, does not mean that all of it just now happened either. We have each witnessed a president who ran on a campaign of transparency and reining in government corruption just now kowtow to the corrupt overlords. Yes, evidently for all appearances, the oligarch overlords truly in power either drive an incredibly hard bargain or the oligarch overlords in control wield a very large sword. It has to be one of the two. What other options are there? It has to boil down to incredible riches and wealth for all who kiss the ring, or it is incredible threats of great harm to any who refuse, along with their friends and family members. In fact, we have just seen Donald J. Trump betray the trust and respect of each and every American citizen, live and on national TV, all without a shred of fear about what the actions would unleash. Slice it however you wish, interpret what we've all seen with your own eyes any way you like, the result is still the same, my viewers. Kashyap Patel was once one of the most harsh critics of the evident cover-up of the Jeffrey Epstein client list by federal DOJ and FBI criminals. Dan Bongino the same. He built up a very large following on Rumble as a former U.S. Secret Service agent who was highly critical of the hiding of the Jeffrey Epstein evidence being hidden away from the American public. Now, friends and colleagues, we saw them both on a Fox News interview a couple months back, obviously compromised. Their body language, gestures, and overall emotions and energy levels were all different than their days of blogging against the corrupt federal government machine. Both men were evidently changed by something within the machine, and not for the better. We now all recognize the filthy hand we have been dealt. Yes, these are thugs, mafiosos, and criminals at the very top, and they pull all the puppet strings no matter which major party gets elected into symbolic power. Equate it to King Charles in the United Kingdom. He is the king and ruler, all-powerful, but only in symbolic nature. Well now, friends and colleagues, I believe it is safe to say that the President of the United States of America now has been verified to serve in a similar symbolic-only role. The oligarchs, puppet masters, deep state lords, whatever you want to call them, evidently rule with an iron fist and drive a very hard bargain. Let this puppet step back for just a moment and try to give the benefit of the doubt to President Trump. Let me assume for a moment that he is a hands-off leader as far as his cabinet goes. He just allows his cabinet members to rule their respective areas without his oversight. Is that even a sane way of allowing Scam Blondie to misrun the Department of Injustice? And hypothetically speaking, say that Scam Blondie was allowed to rule that the Epstein client list was never there. Would not Trump, who is normally in lockstep with his MAGA base, not know this is BS beyond the maximum allowed by law? And then why would Trump speak out against the reporter in the cabinet meeting who innocently asked about the Epstein files and the misruling that Scam Blondie's DOIJ has put at 7 p.m. last Sunday night on a leftist media source. Trump has zero right to sit there on national TV and say to that reporter that this is a desecration for him to ask about the Epstein client list. What about the innocent child victims? Are they not allowed justice? Viewers, I don't know about you, but that cabinet meeting has to rank up there with one of the lowest moments in the history of this once great nation. So now it seems that Dan Bongino may have had a change of heart and is considering resigning his post as deputy director of the FBI. Is it because maybe his conscience is getting to him? Anyone with eyes can see the change in his countenance and his approach to the subject of the Jeffrey Epstein client list since he began his new job back in March of this year. All is speculation and conjecture at this point, of course, but there are also rumors that Kash Patel may step down from his role as FBI director soon unless Scam Blondie resigns from her post as U.S. Attorney General, which would be a blessing to all of us. The hypocrisy of Donald Trump remains monumental at this juncture. There are videos of him in the run-up to the general election speaking on camera about the very real risk to Bill Clinton for his escapades at Epstein's now infamous island. Only now Trump claims there is no, quote, incriminating client list, unquote, from the now deceased criminal. Wow. We have yet to also see any meaningful release of the JFK or MLK files from this administration, despite promises that these would be released on the first day in office. Does anyone else smell some reneging on the part of the president? Anyone else also recognize that he is historically poor at selecting good cabinet members for his staff? Remember Bill Barr, Jeff Sessions, and Mike Pompeo? Barr and Sessions proved utterly worthless, and in fact, Barr refused to do a single thing about the obviously rigged 2020 general election. Pompeo ran a non-stop witch hunt campaign against journalist Julian Assange, eventually getting him locked away in UK for merely investigative journalism for many, many years. Yes, Donald Trump has done some good things, and it turns out that he is now failing on a number of his promises. Trump has since came back and issued another "go away, nothing to see here" notice yesterday on his Truth Social site, stating that Jeffrey Epstein list was entirely a made-up manufactured item by the leftist Democrats. Say what? From what we know so far, Bill Gates and Bill Clinton both frequented Epstein's island. Why exactly would the leftists manufacture something that their own favorites at the top of the suspect list? No, folks, this puppet is not buying what Trump and Blondie are selling. In fact, I could envision these files and evidence now going into top secret protection status for the next 60 years, a la the JFK and MLK files. And then, when they are finally released later on, the main culprits will be long dead and unable to receive their due justice. What will we do, friends and colleagues, to finally take back this nation from some very nefarious types? What is your nation worth to you? I believe what is truly being revealed to us, fellow citizens, is the fact that the whole left versus right and Dems versus reps argument matters none here. We are seeing that corruption and its resultant deception can and will originate from nefarious individuals from all walks and political leanings. It is, friends and colleagues, high time for Scam Blondie to step down and for Donald Trump to finally come clean with all of the Jeffrey Epstein evidence, every last crumb of it. Good night, my loyal viewers, and sleep well.